What do you experience in your mind's eye when I say to you the word car? Last video we looked at two main aspects of the colour blue, both from the perspective of those with blue shades and those without. In this video we will look at two more aspects, areas that, like the others we have looked at so far, have a very big impact on everyday life for those with blue shades. Are you ready? Hi, I'm Lydia, doctor, psychology assistant and mother of young children with autism. Welcome to Neurodiversity and the Three Primary Colours, a space where you can understand more about diversity in the minds of children and adults and find some must-have psychology hacks that will help your family, school or organisation run more smoothly today. Thirdly, people with blue shades often describe their daily lives to involve having very rich sensory experiences. To put this in context, if someone were to say the word car to me, I simply hear the word car. I do not experience anything else. However, this is a picture drawn by Peter when he was asked to explain what happens when he hears the word car. Peter says, I would have a mental experience as well as an audio one. I would see a picture of an older model of car, silver in colour, parked on grass. It has a metallic taste and a dark, dull ring to it. The feeling of the word is big and partly rounded in size and scale, although this is an experience which is difficult to articulate. When the same question was asked to Robert, this was his reply. When you say the word car, I see, hear, smell and touch cars. All the cars I have ever seen and heard or smelt or touched. I have never tasted any cars, so I have no sensory data of that. What we can see from Peter and Robert's responses is that just one word that is heard or read can trigger an awareness of a multitude of other information. This way of experiencing the world must make life incredibly rich for those with blue shades, though there can sometimes be disadvantages too. For example, children and adults with blue shades can find certain words distressing, and it can feel like they are actually re-experiencing what is being talked about. For others, something that is being heard, seen or smelled or touched can trigger vivid memories. The other day my own daughter suddenly stopped eating her chips and said, Mum, these chips taste like alive chickens. The psychologist in me naturally couldn't help but ask her what was going through her mind. She told me that the smell from the chips was the same smell that she experienced one day when she went into her grandmother's chicken house to see if the chickens had laid any eggs. And for others, memories triggered by sensory information are even more unpleasant. As Robert states, I recall things like pain. I feel the actual pain, like the pain of being beaten by people. The stronger my emotions were about an experience, the more vivid details are. And just as sensory information can trigger distressing memory-related experiences, it can also trigger pleasant ones, as Peter describes. Other concepts such as tractor tires produce an attractive and even a relaxing response. This also produces a memory-like experience in my mouth, almost like I was sucking or chewing on it, perhaps taking me back to very early memories of being a small child or gumming the tires of a child's tractor toy. And finally, for people with blue shades, things that are heard, smelt, seen or touched can also bring to mind a host of detailed facts or information. For Robert, all on hearing just one word car, after he mentally represents all the cars he has ever seen, he goes on to say, I can then choose to focus on one particular car, for example the Kia Picanti my wife drives. I recall when we bought it, when the insurance and MOT are due, when I last topped up various fluids, what the mileage is the last time I checked it. Robert also states, I remember everything you have ever said and done while within my sensory range. I have detailed logs of everyone I have ever met. I remember dates well, for example dates of births and deaths. If you could download the contents of my brain, it would make for a fascinating documentary. And then Jack describes how such detail impacts his communication style. I am so absolutely acute and focused on detail. I think that neurotypicals, or that's people with red shades, just glaze over and look at the lawn when I'm describing blades of grass in particular areas of the lawn. And finally, children and adults with blue shades very often crave more or less sensory input from their environment. This applies to all 5 senses. Some people with blue shades have what we call hypersensitivities. For these people, certain environments or just daily life in general can be distressing or irritating due to too much sensory information coming in, leading to behaviours attempting to drown out this sensory information. Other people with blue shades have what we call hyposensitivities, showing behaviours that are attempts to gain more sensory stimulation from their environment. Children craving sensory information will get it by any means possible, and if they are stopped from getting it from one source, they will automatically and subconsciously seek it out from another. And just to make things a little more confusing, many children have both hyper and hyposensitivities, even showing signs of both at the same time. People with blue shades can also be hyper or hyposensitive to 2 other less well-known sensory systems called proprioception and the vestibular system. These 2 systems are responsible for our sense of body position, movement and balance. And you'll know if your child is craving input from these 2 senses from one simple fact. You will have no curtains or working door handles left in your house. Children craving input from these 2 senses tend to move a lot. For example, they might hang upside down when watching TV, spin around when practicing their spellings, climb, jump, throw themselves on the floor or enjoy tight hugs. In fact, sensory-related behaviours are very, very common and often underlie a lot more behaviours than we do give them credit for. The true reason behind these behaviours is often not immediately obvious for those with red or yellow shades, as is the case with the other areas we've looked at today. Negative assumptions are often made, such as the assumption that the child is lacking concentration or is being deliberately difficult. The reality though is that balancing their sensory systems well is exactly what these children need in order to concentrate, feel regulated or relaxed, cope with their emotion and generally function well. For example, take a look at this short video of a little girl being asked her times tables. This little girl is craving proprioception and vestibular input, which we can tell from her hanging, swinging and later spinning and climbing. She is unable to concentrate well on her times tables unless she gets this sensory input. Notice how as the times tables become more difficult, so she begins to crave more sensory input and therefore becomes more active. Rich sensory experiences, sensory needs. Does this sound familiar to you or someone you know? Go ahead and leave a comment below and help us better understand the colour blue. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so that you can catch my future videos where I hope to paint more of a detailed picture of how the colour blue might look in your context. See you next time.